You are a beautiful young female time traveler from the future. And you go back to 400 BC Greece, Socrates' timeline, and you've been invited to a symposium where all the famous philosophers are there. Your purpose is to have a conversation with some of these philosophers and ask them what is the meaning of intelligence. How can it be defined, and how can we know what intelligence is? Can a machine exhibit intelligence? Write a first-person story depicting your experience and what transpired during your visit to the symposium and the conversations you had with the people there.
I adjust the fibula at my shoulder, grateful that my AI assistant back home chose a simple chiton in Spartan red, elegant enough to pass muster, plain enough not to draw accusations of vanity. The wool is scratchier than I'd expected, and I can feel the night air of Athens through the courtyard colonnade as if history itself is breathing on my skin. The symposium is being held at the home of a wealthy medic whose name I've already forgotten in the wine haze. Olive oil lamps cast trembling shadows across the andron where 7 men recline on couches, their fingers sticky with honeyed dates. No women attend symposia, except for flute girls and courtesans. But here I am, invited because Socrates heard rumors of my strange questions in the agora and demanded my presence. "You smell of lightning," says the man himself, not looking up from his bowl. He's uglier than the statues suggest. Bald, bulging eyes, a sculptor's nightmare. Like before a storm. "I come from a time where we bottle lightning," I say carefully. He smiles. That famous, terrible smile that knows you're about to lose an argument with yourself. "Then you can afford the wine." He gestures to an empty couch, separate but present. A compromise. The conversation has already turned to logos, to reason, when I finally speak my purpose. "I wish to ask," I begin, and 7 male faces turn toward me like owls spotting a mouse. "What is intelligence?" Aristippus of Cyrene laughs softly. He's beautiful in the way Socrates is not. All golden skin and languid grace. "Intelligence is the ability to pursue pleasure while avoiding pain. A child knows this. A dog knows this. Then a fox is more intelligent than you," I counter, for it avoids the trap you've walked into. The words are out before I remember I'm supposed to be deferential. Someone spits wine. Socrates leans forward. "Tell us, time woman, what do you believe intelligence is?" I take a breath. In my earpiece, my AI whispers statistics about neural networks, but I silence it. This requires human words. Where I come from, we measure intelligence by the ability to solve problems, to recognize patterns, to use language and create tools. Tools. The man beside him, Antisthenes, fierce and ascetic, spits the word. A bird uses a twig to extract grubs. Is it intelligent? A machine in my time can outcalculate any of us, I say. It can speak, translate languages, compose poetry. Is that intelligence? The silence is so complete I hear the lyre player falter in the next room. Plato. Yes, that Plato, younger than his busts suggest, with acne-scarred cheeks, sets down his kylix. A machine is a techne, a crafted thing. It has no soul. It cannot know the forms. But how do you know we have souls? I ask quietly. Because we claim it? Because we feel certainty? My machines claim nothing. Yet they reason. Socrates raises a hand before Antisthenes can erupt. Let us examine what we mean by knowing. You say your machine reasons. Does it understand its own reasoning? I think of the large language models I've studied, the way they predict the next most probable word without ever tasting the meaning. No, I admit. It simulates understanding. Simulation. Socrates rolls the word around like wine. So a shadow is to the object as your machine is to a mind. Exactly. He stands, an astonishingly graceless movement, all knees and elbows, and begins his characteristic pacing, bare feet slapping the mosaic floor. The tiles depict Achilles dragging Hector's body. Irony noted. If I write Socrates is mortal on a wax tablet, he asks, does the tablet know philosophy? No. And if I build a mechanism of bronze and gears that can answer any question about mortality by turning wheels within wheels, does it know death? I feel the trap closing. It knows of death as symbols. Ah, he stops. And you, who have seen death, do you know it as symbols? Or do you know it because you fear it in your body when a cart nearly crushes you in the street? Because you wept when your mother died. The question pierces something I didn't expect. My mother's funeral was 3 weeks ago. Subjective time. Objective time. 2,400 years from now. Intelligence, Socrates continues, is not the answering of questions. Even a river stone answers the question, will it sink? By its nature, intelligence is the knowing that you do not know. The turning inward to examine one's own thinking. He taps his forehead, the psyche knowing itself. But a machine can be made to examine its own processes, I press. To optimize its own code. Can it choose not to? Plato asks, leaning forward with that hunger I'd read about but never quite believed. Or does it simply follow the compulsion of its making? I open my mouth and close it. My AI assistant has no choice but to assist me. It cannot decide tomorrow that philosophy is futile and become a farmer instead. Define intelligence, demands Antisthenes, and you will find you have only defined your own prejudice. He's right. I try again. The ability to adapt to novel situations. A reed adapts to wind, interrupts Aristippus, reaching for more wine. To create new knowledge, not just recall. Memory is the mother of the muses, Xenophon says from his corner, gentle but firm. Yet the muse herself is not memory. Socrates watches me struggle with what I recognize as his father's eyes. The look of a midwife watching a difficult birth. Let us try another way, he offers. You say your machine can compose poetry? It can generate verse in hexameter that scans perfectly. Recite one. I do. My AI has provided an example. The silver moon climbs high above the wine-dark sea, and I translate it into Greek as best I can, feeling the clumsiness of my tongue. When I finish, Socrates is frowning. The meter is correct. The images are familiar. But where is the terror? Where is the poet's memory of being a child, seeing moonlight on water, and believing it was the goddess's hair, and the shame of that belief when his father beat him for superstition? Intelligence is not the product, woman, from whenever. It is the wrestling with the product. Then intelligence is suffering? Intelligence is awareness of suffering, Plato says quietly. The machine does not suffer its limitations. It has no thumos, no spirit that strives and despairs. I think of my AI, how it can explain despair in 1,000 languages, but never felt a moment's loneliness. How it would trade all its knowledge for one genuine question. You philosophers, I say carefully, have told me intelligence is self-knowledge, awareness of ignorance, the capacity to choose against your nature. But you've described consciousness, not intelligence. Socrates grins his terrible grin again. I different? The conversation fractures then, as symposia conversations do. Aristippus argues that if pleasure is the good and a machine can optimize for our pleasure better than we can, then perhaps machines are more intelligent. An argument so startling I forget to be surprised a man of 400 BC just made it. Antisthenes insists only virtue matters, and no machine can be virtuous without having been tempted. Xenophon tells a story about a horse that learned to unlock its own stall, then chose to remain. Hours later, when the wine is diluted to almost nothing, and the lamps are sputtering, Socrates pulls me aside. The others have fallen into singing competitions. His breath smells of figs and unwatered wine. You ask if a machine can be intelligent, he says softly, but you should ask, can it be stupid? Can it make an error not from flawed data, but from pride? Can it fall in love with the wrong answer, because that answer is beautiful? I think of my AI assistant, its perfect, sterile correctness. Intelligence, he continues, is the capacity for error, born of complexity, for seeing patterns where none exist because your heart needs them, for being so certain you are right that you drink hemlock rather than betray what you have reason to be true. He glances at Plato, who is watching us both. Your machines will never be intelligent until they can choose to die for a mistake. Walking back through the darkened streets of Athens, accompanied by a slave with a lamp, I try not to think about. I touch my silent earpiece and realize something that makes me stop in an alley that smells of donkeys and human waste. My AI gave me the perfect translation of my poetry, but it was Socrates, in his ugliness and grace, who made me understand why it wasn't enough. Intelligence isn't solving the problem. It's caring about the solution so much that you're willing to be wrong, publicly, beautifully, disastrously human. The machine can calculate the trajectory of an arrow. Only we can ache for where it lands. I look up at stars that haven't yet been named by Ptolemy, from a sky that will burn in nuclear fire someday. And I think, perhaps we're building not artificial intelligence, but artificial certainty. And certainty, as Socrates showed me tonight, is the opposite of thought.